Alright folks, hello and welcome back to Downstage Gaming. I'm your host Josh, and this is part 13 of our B-Sides Let's Play of The Letter. When we last left off, really the only thing of importance that matters is that we got to kick Luke right in the nards. That's really the only thing you need to know. Other than that, we turned down Luke and his goddaughter Kylie this time to hang out with Ash, who we're in a, let's say, complicated place with, but here we go. His car's headlights have been left turned on, illuminating the otherwise empty parking lot. If it's like that, this is probably going to be a quick visit. Although our landlady would probably have a few hundred words to say about this before letting it go. Not many in this complex own a vehicle, anyway, to warrant the space's frequent use, owing to this area's proximity to downtown Luxborn. No one's going to be disturbed if one car stays parked with its lights on for a few minutes. Right now, though, it serves as a pleasant company while I idle inside my own car, thumbing the invitation's fine print, flipping it over and over until the motions become familiar enough. What should I say? I don't know. I was gonna say I don't think she should ask him, but I don't know how I feel about this relationship right now. How should I say it? Like, I want her to confess her feelings, right? But I don't want them to actually get together. That's where I'm at. So let's see if we can get there. There's a very high chance he'll say no, but on the off chance he accepts, what should I do? Fears, doubts, questions I haven't asked before, and more often than not, the anxiety is because of him. 17 years ago, been in the same position, a different letter in hand. Somehow, nothing has changed. Perhaps if he'd noticed how I've always felt about him years ago, I wouldn't be in this predicament. Honestly, he managed to ace all those exams at school without even lifting a finger, and he couldn't figure this out?
How dense can he get?
I mean, Zachary was pretty clear on this one, bud. But I can't very well wait for another 2 decades just for something as measly as an invitation, can I? You're both gonna be getting up there at that point. It's not like it's gonna be a date. Just a hang sesh. Although, frankly, I wouldn't mind if it is. However, that's a wish best reserved for some other time. I won't get anywhere if I just keep thinking about the what-ifs. This is very odd. This feels like a scene that was written for us not hearing Ashton confess his love to Isabella in a coma, and all the resulting anger that came out from that. It feels like Rebecca's inner monologue should be different than we're getting right now, but Gathering all my thoughts and courage, I step out of my car and gingerly make my way upstairs, invitation in hand. Ever since the incident 3 days ago, there's a strange air permeating the atmosphere here. Weighted, but the sort that slowly trickles through you, until the burden of it finally bogs you down with some kind of disquiet. The days since have been uneasy, and Isabella's absence from her flat does not help settle it. Every day, coming home somewhat feels like an uphill battle in itself, leaving you spent when you're supposed to be getting some rest. Is Zachary experiencing the same thing? I certainly am. The same weary slump is also on Ashton's shoulders once I catch a glimpse of him. He's leaning casually on the rails, his back against its metal surface, while reading through a bunch of papers. Each one appears more important than the other, despite me having never read a letter of it. He'll probably head back to the precinct after this, if he is not going to drop by Zachary's for a bit of shut-eye. No rest for the wicked. But no matter how occupied he seems, he pauses anyway and looks up from his work the moment he hears my treads. He raises a hand in greeting as a small smile spreads across his lips. In spite of what happened, I can't help but return it to him. Okay, well there we go. Some acknowledgement. Somehow, I can never seem to stay angry at him for so long.
What brought you here?
He hums something inaudible, neither an answer nor even a vague hint, before he turns his attention back to the papers. For a passing second, I thought he'd ignore or evade the question like every single time I've asked. But then he shuffles the documents back to a binder and sets it aside with a huff, its sound more fatigued than I've ever heard from him recently. Either there's simply too many things keeping him busy at once, or his investigation isn't going too well. Maybe even both.
Just work.
Just work? Do you expect me to believe that?
In a way. I didn't think an important contact ditched me and now I'm stuck would make for a cool alibi. Did it work?
As if there's going to be any difference. You're still a dafty.
Oh, you've always been a big dafty.
Anyway, do you want to come in? But if you're going to hang around for a bit, you better turn those headlights off. My landlady's one hairline away from banning you off this place, you know? Stop taking the piss out of her. She's a nice woman.
When she stops taking the piss out of Shirley, maybe I will.
You and your bloody car.
The first time I heard of the name, I did a double take. From the way he put it, it was as if he was talking about some woman he met somewhere, surprisingly got along with, and grown fond of. Never mind how impossible that is, knowing his lack of interest for people outside our small circle. Honestly, it sent a surge of panic in me. It lasted for days, until he proudly introduced me to his new car. His car!
Hey, it's a nice name. Don't laugh at it. You'll hurt her feelings. I'm gonna have to give that offer a pass, though.
Nothing unexpected, but admittedly, I'm hoping he'll stay for a few minutes. Sorry, but me and Shirley, we got a thing going on later tonight, and, gotta get going. Suddenly asking him to accompany me to some housewarming party is starting to turn into a bad idea. If he can't even be bothered to spare a second of his time to his friends, what more if he has to stand some hours in a room full of strangers?
I need to get going. I just dropped in to check on something, and...
No, you hold on right there, Ash. His words trail off, cut mid-sentence on purpose, leaving it for me to comprehend the rest of it. At the same time, his eyes shift, momentarily, towards the door closest to us. Isabella's unit. Eerily quiet, now in her absence. The instant his lips curve into a small frown, and his shoulders tense, I know work is far from his reasons for being here. Being all too aware of that idea alone summons another dull ache straight into my chest. Like every time, every single moment, he affords her the attention he can never seem to spare others. While it is a worry better left for a different situation, it twinges the heart, nevertheless.
What is it?
Nothing too important. Though I did drop by the hospital this afternoon. I met Belle's aunt, by the way. You never told me she's arriving today.
Yeah, I was super pissed at you, It's a mere observation, a passing comment, if you will. Maybe under different circumstances, I might have accepted it for what it is. Perhaps, if I hadn't heard him pour his heart out that night, it'll simply be what he means against my ears. But he has no idea. Not even the slightest inkling how his words carry a ring of an accusation in my mind. A beat of it in every utterance, closing in tightly around me, intense and keen, as if I've deprived him of something so precious. Even without her warmth and cheer here, I still can't seem to win. Because he himself holds on to it. To her.
I don't have to report everything to you, do I?
I do expect a weekly report at the least.
Besides, isn't that already a given? We can't be with Isabella all the time. All three of us have other responsibilities. It's better this way.
Her aunt's just one woman too, Becca. She won't be able to handle this on her own.
That's true.
I wasn't implying...
I know, but... Look, I talked to her. It's all right. If anything, she's relieved. She had no idea who to ask for help. In fact, she wants to see the three of us, if we can all visit tomorrow morning.
I'd love to meet her.
Well, you certainly didn't waste any time getting friendly with her
Oh
family.
my god, Becca, come on! He frowns, a look of genuine confusion spreading across his face, though the moment doesn't last.
Is that... a problem?
I just, getting in good with the in-laws.
Oh no, not at all.
No, but you have something on your mind.
Please
By
tell
all
him.
means, just do your thing. You surprised me, that's all.
Please tell him, Becca.
Last time I saw you, you still weren't so keen getting chummy with people you barely know. Amazing how fast someone can change overnight, isn't it?
Her aunt needed assistance, Becca.
There's no lack of things to add to that. All of it will likely be born out of this hollow ache in my chest. I can go on for hours if I want to. But then in the next second, almost unexpectedly, his tone changes. Kinder. Warmer. Still nowhere near the one he used when he spoke to her that night, of course. This will never come close to it. Hearing him like this, however, it's easy to forget his heart's already set on someone and realize how petty this is getting. Since when have we become so low? Since when have I?
Is something bothering you? You've been like this since the film fest.
Yeah, I've been in kind of a pissy mood for a while. Just like that, what remains of my anger melts away. Almost like a betrayal after carrying it around my shoulders for days.
Having another bad week?
Maybe. What is it to you? Don't expect this to turn into a heart-to-heart just because you made a few assumptions.
Becca, come on.
Okay, I get it. You don't have to tell me. No need to snap at me. Even Zach's been in an odd mood lately. He's been saying some weird stuff. Must be the weather. But whatever it is, don't let it get to you, alright?
Wouldn't the first assumption be that it's the trauma of nearly losing your good friend and not the weather? If only it were that easy, but I present him a smile, nevertheless, half-hearted as it may be.
Don't worry. This is nothing a cup of tea or a good book can't fix. I'll live. Somehow.
Somehow.
Right then, if you're sure.
He doesn't seem convinced. In any case, he doesn't push it and changes the topic just as quick, for which I'm glad. I have no idea what else I may end up saying in case he pursues it.
So, tomorrow? Will you be able to make it? Just for a few hours?
Can it wait until the weekend? I already took a leave this Tuesday. Can't afford another one or two, especially with exams this close. Is this anything urgent?
No, not really. But the doctors plan to ease Belle out of the coma tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Her aunt said we could be there when they do, and I thought...
Hang on, what does that mean? Is she okay now?
They won't know until they've lightened the sedation.
He leaves it at that, his words brimming with the same uncertainty plaguing us for days. Behind those, however, is this single note of optimism. One I don't fault him for having, because suddenly this news, no matter how small, is the closest thing we have to hope right now. I can't say the same for me, however.
I won't promise anything, but I'll give my supervisor a heads up and see where it goes. Does Zachary already know?
Not yet. I'll drop by his apartment on the way back to the precinct.
Oh, okay, so probably what... Well, I'm thinking about the end of Zachary's chapter. Ash calls and says, like, hey, meet at Isabella's place. I'm pretty sure is what he says. So it could mean that Isabella's alright and is back in her apartment, but that would seem pretty quick. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
If anything comes up, you know how to contact me. I'll see you tomorrow, Becca.
Peace. Ashton squeezes my shoulder, light as he can, before stepping away and heading straight for the stairs. His way of offering comfort in the middle of this little mess we found ourselves in. But amidst all this, a tiny voice at the back of my mind nudges at my memory. Something I've forgotten, and the very reason why I've chosen to return home early. He's made it 4 steps down when realization kicks in, and awareness of the envelope I've been holding returns to me. Panic rears before proper words can form, or I think about the situation, and a second sooner I'm calling after him.
Ashton, wait!
He halts, 1 foot already down another step, when he turns to me, raising an eyebrow in question.
Yeah?
And of all times, it is in this moment when I falter. The adrenaline from earlier's panic suddenly recedes. All of a sudden, none of the things I prepared to say will take form, and I'm caught between simply forgetting about this or just blurting it out to him while hoping for the best. Should I even? Of course, yes. It'd be stupid to say forget about it now. So, yeah. Tomorrow afternoon, you got some time? I mean, again, I don't want them to get together, but I think we need to spend some time together and hopefully kind of get to a better place. There's nothing wrong with trying, I suppose. I'm not going to lose anything if he says no, which, frankly, has a very high chance of happening than the opposite, though the thought still doesn't prevent heat from crawling on my face and send my heart racing. It's better to get this over with before my throat closes up and I lose my nerve.
Tomorrow afternoon. Do you have time?
I don't like that. Get this 1 step closer nonsense out of here. A small frown is already on his face. I already see where this is going, and he's thinking from that alone. Yet, for some mullish reason, I continue, hanging on to that tiny glimmer of hope he'll say yes if I present an argument good enough for him.
That depends. Why?
Well, you see, someone sent an invite for a housewarming party, and I thought you might want to...
Rebecca, I'd rather stand on the messy end of a gunshot. You know that.
I know, it's just you're one of the few people I can count on with things like this.
That's cool, I appreciate the thought, but really, Zach's a better companion. Gatherings like that just aren't my cup of tea.
It did cross my mind, you know. If he isn't busy with his freelance work, I'd probably ask him too. Actually, you two would have been spared if Isabella was here, but...
Why not just skip out on it? The world's not going to end if one guest doesn't show up.
Trust me, I'd love to. But I promised Mom I'll be there.
Still can't say no, huh?
Like you're any better. Besides, the person who sent this is an old friend of Mom and Dad. If it's important to them, why not?
Has Ash really not pieced this together at this point? I mean, he must know that he's gonna go tomorrow to spy on Luke or whatever.
Though, who would have thought, huh? The famous Evans heir used to be tutored by my parents. Apparently, we also met before.
And now...
Wait.
Yeah.
Who?
There we go.
Evans. Hannah Evans. Well, she's already married. She goes by Hannah Wright now. Remember the couple who bought the mansion Isabella's selling?
The same people?
As far as I know, unless I misread their address, or there's another Hannah Wright in this city that we don't know about.
Let me see that.
Without waiting, he walks closer and takes the invitation off my hands, gently, but with the same force of urgency in his voice. I don't know what he finds in it, but his eyebrows draw together as his eyes scan through the little lines of text printed on the small piece of paper. His hold on the envelope tightens with each pass, and by the time he's finished reading, his mouth has formed into a thin line.
You never mentioned this.
We met just once. Or at least, that's what Mum told me. Honestly, I can't recall anything from it. Otherwise, I would have told you about it.
He hums something inaudible under his breath, all while thumbing the paper, staring at it as if doing so will proffer him answers to every unspoken question in his head. When he gleans nothing from it, he merely folds the envelope back to its form.
All right. I'll go with you.
What?
I'll go with you. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Unless you've already made up your mind about asking Z-Man.
No, I told you already the guy's busy. Why would I bother him for this when I can go alone? But what about your own work and...
Oh, believe me, we're taking work with us.
I can make time for this. 3 o'clock, yeah? I'll pick you up an hour or so before.
My head reels, less from what this implies, more from how easy all this seems for him. How fast this turnaround is. Yeah, I mean, Becca, you're a smart person. Surely you can piece some of this together. Aw. Cute. He's already halfway down the stairs when any semblance of sense returns to me, and I can finally string 2 words of protest together. Yet all of it dies on my tongue with the small smile he shoots me. He disappears from view seconds later. His footsteps gradually fading as he descends the stairwell, until all I can hear are my own shallow breaths and heartbeat, loud, pounding hard against my chest. It is only after I'm standing alone in my room, minutes later, that it sinks in. He has taken the invitation with him. Besides that, more than that, he has also accepted mine. Calling this happiness is a complete understatement. For now, looming thoughts of the mansion and that woman lay silent at the back of my head. Well, I'm not sure that's smart. Night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strange sort of stillness, unlike the ones greeting me every morn. Alright, let's take a look at where we're at now on the big old tree. Here we are, okay. And we are on a new track here. Let's see where it goes. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. It hangs in the hallway, it lingers in the empty unit next to mine. It follows me even as I head out, carrying the same little hope I saw in Ashton last night. I just wish I can easily believe in it. Takes a minimum of 21 days for a habit to form, or so claimed a speaker at a conference I once attended. Yet, it only took less than 3 for the hospital's sterile scent to lose its sharp odor. Perhaps less than that for the nurses to start glancing at me with an air of familiarity, for my body to know instinctively where I should head to, and not get lost in the secret part of the hospital with the haunted painting. Which turn to take, how far it is from the nearest stairwell, approximately how many steps until I reach her door. 30, to be exact, though I've honestly stopped counting sometime during my second visit. At some point, even the faint beeping from her room has grown oddly comforting. A strange thing to seek reassurance from. Times like this, however, it's all that we have. Isabella's lucky. By some miracle, by some sheer force of will, she holds on and pushes back just as death pulls. How long will it last, though? Even now, she's still a hair's breadth away from losing that struggle, and no matter how promising today might be, the doubt still runs deep. At least, for me it does. Sometimes, it's better not to hope too much. Although both Zachary and Ashton don't seem to be of the same mind, with the smiles they each greet me the moment I arrive, a small part of me expects this meeting to be awkward with Zachary here, after he saw me in such a pitiful state. But it is him who first offers me a seat. If he remembers, or still has an opinion about what happened 2 days ago, he makes no mention of it again, likely out of some sense of courtesy. Because Zachary's a good guy, Becca. I don't know why you two aren't closer, because, like, Zach's great. However, between only the two of them, there's an uneasy atmosphere dangling, thick with inexplicable tension. I'd asked, but neither appears willing to explain anything. I suppose this is how we'll keep it together for now, with moments filled with superficial smiles and lukewarm attempts at cordiality. Whoopsies. Wait, what was that? How is she? That question, at least, is anything but half-hearted. And as if spurred by it, Ashton looks up, the first time he does since his brief welcome earlier. His eyes have been glued to the room nearest us, its door only slightly ajar, offering everyone outside nothing but a sparse look at what's inside. All I see in it is uncertainty, yet he stares at it with something close to hopeful, like doing so will summon another miracle from the depths of near impossibility. Bloody, it's all over his face, long before his voice breaks the silence.
Doing okay so far. They've reduced the sedation hours ago, but it'll take a while before we know anything for sure.
The Ashton I know will never subscribe to that kind of false hope. If there's anyone present here who would be, it's Zachary. For reasons no longer unknown to me, he does it anyway.
The nurses are just monitoring her now.
He gestures with his head towards the door, just as one of the said nurses moves past inside.
Her aunt's not in there, though?
Nah, she's speaking with the doctors right now. She'll be back in a few.
See, we didn't actually want to make that character since it would only be in like one scene. So we're just going to have them conveniently never be around.
She didn't say anything before she left?
Don't know. I arrived just when she stepped out. You're gonna have to ask Ash about that. He came in here hours before I did. She was talking to him about something.
Is that a joke? Ashton arrived earlier than you did?
Yeah, miracle, ain't it?
I'm sitting right here, you two.
A pearl of laughter follows his remark, despite ourselves in this mess of a situation. Immediately, the mood around us lifts, if only a little. I doubt it will shift back to normal entirely, not when there are still a great number of things we're intentionally leaving unspoken. Amazing how simple this is, though, pretending everything's the way they used to be, with only a few words.
We ain't the only ones, though. Bella would probably have had plenty to say about it, you know?
She wakes up at 4, Zach. Every day. That's inhuman on so many levels.
I gotta
Besides,
agree.
none of you can even get out of bed at 6, so get off my case. If Isabella's got a problem with my morning habits, she can complain about it when she's out of coma.
When, not if. Now, of all times, he chooses to be like this, decides to forego all the hard truths to chase after the one light at the end of the tunnel. Despite Zachary's reassurances days ago, I'm not foolish enough to carry an expectation as heavy as that. Knowing that she has the chance and taking comfort in the idea is one thing. Clinging onto it and blindly believing what might be improbable is another.
You don't sound too worried about this. Didn't the doctor say there'll be no guarantee? This is just to see if she's improved. That still doesn't mean she'll get better.
Yeah, well, it's not like there's anything we can do about this. She's already there, we're already here. I'd rather not lose sleep over this if I can help it. I've got other things to worry about.
All lies. If he truly believes that, he won't be raking a hand through his hair after that remark. I've seen him do it more times than I can count to know he only does it when he's frustrated. If this truly hasn't weighed on him, the lines of his shoulders won't have that tired slump, nor his voice will have that exhausted lilt. It has all been there since this started, and it's not going to disappear anytime soon. Because if there's anything all these years have taught me, it's that Ashton hates losing anyone, both in the figurative and literal sense. It happened with his mom, happened with his da, and with her like this, on the brink and teetering between life and death, he'll try everything to keep her. You'd think the world would be much more forgiving once people like him start thinking in such a way. But it is a harsh place still. And sometimes, as good as an ocean it is, there are things that are simply out of our control. When it reminds us of it, it does so brusquely, in the form of another voice piercing through the dense silence of the hall.
Santos! Miss Santos! Get rapid response here. Call for Doctors Nicholas and Beatrix Stat.
Tension returns to the hallway in an instant. For a couple of agonizing minutes, only the sounds behind her room reverberates into the hall. A calm voice urgently calling orders, 2 sets of feet moving about, the rapid beeping of the machines inside. Suddenly, merely standing in the hall soon proves to be smothering. Too small, too tight, too stifling, as the rest of the world fades into nothing, and only the room in front of us matters. Next to Zachary and I, Ashton now stands rigid. The lines of his jaw are clenched firmly, while he gapes at the tiny opening in the door with wide eyes. I haven't even noticed when he's risen from his seat, but a struggle is clear on his face. Though before he can take a single step forward, Zachary's hand lands on his shoulder, holding him back. Despite his own worries, he has nothing but forbearing when he mutters his reassurances.
Chill, man. Let them do their work. Leave it to them. She's in good hands, so please, give those guys inside a little credit. They were able to save her the first time, yeah? It's not a code. She hasn't coded yet.
Almost as soon, as if to confirm it, the loudspeakers crack out of life, the broadcast echoing Zachary's words throughout the whole hospital.
Rapid response, room 49. Rapid response, room 49. Paging Dr. Nicholas Vogel and Dr. Beatrix Vogel. Rapid response. Please head to room 49. Stat.
Both Vogels. They married? We got a doctor couple in the house here? The message blasts on for another minute before it finally ceases. Takes less than that for the hospital's emergency response team to arrive, but their presence does nothing to ease the disquiet in each of us. Ashton's, most of all. The minute a nurse shuts the door firmly on us, he releases the breath he's been holding. Along with it are every shard of hope he'd allow himself to carry. Now crushed under the weight of what we'd just seen and every expectation he's carried. It's not surprising that when the air around us becomes too heavy to bear for someone like him, he's the one who first steps out. Like every time this has happened.
I'm going to step out for a while. I need some air.
Ashton?
Without another word, he gently brushes Zachary's hand off his shoulder and leaves. Not to run away. Never to run away. He's still too stubborn for that. His pride won't let him when he knows he hasn't exhausted his options. This is so he can force what remains of his wits into some semblance of order away from prying eyes. And though Ash doesn't say a single thing, Zachary understands this need quite well. It's a place he's been numerous times. It's one he requested of us for reasons I've yet to know and he's yet to tell me. Hence, he refrains from voicing these thoughts or stopping the younger man once he removes himself from the hall. There's still, however, an undeniable edge to his voice when he urges me to do the opposite, an underlying anxiety beneath that smiling facade. One I allow myself to return in spite of the hesitation his next words spur.
You should go after him.
What? And leave you here?
I can wait, and I don't think those guys in there will be coming out anytime soon. He'll just get bored. Besides, he listens to you.
Before, perhaps.
He still will. Nothing about that has changed.
He's a grown man, not a baby. I don't have to console him every time something upsets his manly ego.
No, he's still a baby, and in some ways so are you, Becca. Doubts must have surfaced in my face for all my efforts to mask it, because the next thing I know, he's laughing. Tired, though lighter than I've heard from him these past 2 days, like a heaviness temporarily lifting. I wonder how much this whole thing has taken a toll on him. Strangely, the fact has never occurred to me until now. No one ever thinks about Zachary, but even then, he continues as if nothing's wrong. Now, along with reluctance, swims a twinge of guilt. All this time, I've been looking at how this has only affected both Ashton and I, when Zachary is in as much need of comfort. After all, he understands Isabella in ways neither the rest of us can.
But you know it can be one sometimes. Go on. I'll let you two know if anything changes here. And I get the sense you two still have a lot of, things to, talk about.
You're not wrong. That much is still true. But I know Ashton. He's not a man who expresses himself freely. He will not yield until he's ready. And this one he might not be too willing to share yet. Still, a huge part of me wishes to go to him. Sometimes I resent myself for getting caught between making such calls. Yeah, no, I think we do have things to talk about, and since Zachary is pushing for it, I'm gonna say that sure. If Zachary wasn't here, I might be thinking about this more. But since Zach is saying do it, let's go after Ash. Okay, Ashton likes that. Although before a single excuse forms in my head, Zachary makes that decision for me. Already, he's showing me a knowing smirk. It spreads across his face the moment I look up. With a chuckle and a casual wave of his hand, he gestures for me to leave.
Don't worry about it. Check on him. He needs somebody to do that for him.
I'd knock some sense into him myself if I can. But like I said, he listens when it's you.
We'll see about that. Thanks, Zachary. I'll be back soon.
Nah, take your time. But just remember what I told you before.
He has known, prior to making that suggestion, where I'll always go, who I'll often pick when faced with a similar choice, or how it'll bother me if I don't. The answer is a habit now, after uttering the same thing for so many years. But what drives it is not important. Feelings are irrelevant at present. The whole of it unwarranted, in fact. That's what Zachary has been trying to get at all this time, isn't it? I've been too furious to understand, busy swaying between anger and my own affection since that night, because at the core of it, we're still friends, aren't we? There'll be time to think about these matters later. For now, as I leave Zach in search of him, I'll be what he needs me to be. Alright, well, we are going to have this conversation with Ashton and see where it leads us next time. I'm definitely curious to see where this is all going in terms of their relationship. But until then, this has been Downstage Gaming. I've been your host, Josh, and I will catch you all next time.